All right. So hello, and welcome to Hotel Ownership Unplugged. This is a monthly webinar series featuring myself and Tommy Byer. We're two hotel experts, and every month we host different series on different topics. And tonight we're going to be talking about raising capital. So Tommy is actually going to lead the call tonight, and I'll hop back on. But y'all are in great hands. Two experts for the price of one. So I hope you enjoy and learn about raising capital. All right, let's see. All right, there you go. All right, I'll see y'all in a few.
All right, perfect. Well, I'm glad to connect with you guys tonight. Appreciate you carving out some time in your Tuesday evening. Although I don't know about for everybody else, but this week feels like a Wednesday or a Thursday or something. You got to give me more than a Tuesday today. And I didn't even have any tacos, but I did have some. I had like a Mexican bowl for dinner. Not in case you wanted to know. Now you know. But look, it's good to be here with you. As Devon said, I'm Tommy Byer. We partner up on this series, and we're going to share some good insights. So let me share my screen here, and we'll get rolling. And I don't actually, Devon said we didn't need to raise any capital. She was going to give us all the money she has, and we're all set. So we can end this call real quick. I'm just kidding. But anyways, look, for those of us that aren't, multimillionaires or billionaires, we got to go out and we got to raise some money. So we're going to go over that tonight and walk you through, some meaningful and some easy ways for you to go out and do that. So I'll start off by saying, as Devon always says, look, we're not financial advisors or lawyers or anything of the sort. So we highly encourage you to go seek that counsel on your own. But we have raised money for deals before. We have helped other people do that. So, so you can certainly take the advice we're giving you, and like I said, go speak to accountants and other professionals to help you. But this is used to give you a general overview. So we said here, so we'll give you a quick intro. I'll walk you through Devon's story. For those of you that don't know her, she is the hotel queen. She has been in the business for a long time. Not so long though, we're not that old. We've been in the industry about the same time, about 18 years. And Devon, this is a little bit more about her. So it says 15. I'm going to cheat and say 18. I think it's a little longer. But she's worked in hotel operations. She's asset managed properties. She's done feasibility. She's done new development. She's managed over $1 billion worth of assets. Currently has about $30 million under management, and she's the author of a book called How to Buy a Hotel. And actually, we just came out with 3 more ebooks. One is How to Analyze a Hotel in 5 Easy Steps. Another one is Common Hotel Ownership Pitfalls and just helping you avoid those. And the last one is How to Hire a Hotel Management Company. She's also been featured in Forbes, Time, Afrotech, Atlanta Business Chronicle, Black Enterprise, Lodging. She will tell you that she hasn't been featured in Essence, although I think she's working on that. She's a legend for sure. Won all kinds of different awards from Georgia State. That's where she's a graduate of. And also owns part of 3 hotels. So that's a little bit about Devon. She calls me the human calculator. I'll take that title for now. I've been in the industry again, about 15 to 18 years. Actually, some of this is still left over from hers. I have not authored these books. I've not been featured here, but we can pull up we'll go over the updated one. I can just tell you guys, right now I have about $100 million worth of hotels that I oversee from an asset management standpoint. I own my own asset management and consulting company. So I'll help people analyze deals. I'll help people who are new to the industry learn about it. I also help, people who have owned hotels for 20 and 30 years optimize their assets. I've been featured in a bunch of different hotel industry publications. I always joke and say I've not been featured in Essence either. That's okay. I've won a lot of different awards. So I've been a general manager of a number of hotels. I've overseen portfolios of 15 hotels at a time. I worked for a management company for a long time. I've done, business development, financial analysis. I've worked with publicly traded REITs that were as large as $3 billion to single entity owners, people who are, like I said, people who are new to the business, just getting started and that type of thing. So that's a little bit about me. These are the hotels that Devon owns a part of and that I actually asset manage. So you have the Home 2 Suites in El Reno, Oklahoma. You have this one in the middle is the Staybridge Suites in Fishers, Indiana, so right near Indianapolis. And then the last one is a Hampton Inn in Scottsburg, Indiana. And the Hampton Inn is, or Scottsburg is closer to Louisville. So these are the three hotels that she owns a part of. And yeah, happy to say I asset manage them. We've got them heading in a really good direction. We're kind of breaking records at some of them. And yeah, we're excited to see the future of those three properties. So a little bit about her story is she started as a front desk agent. Like I said, went to Georgia State down in Atlanta. Started as a front desk agent at a Hyatt Regency in downtown Atlanta, a really big hotel, really prominent hotel. If you're from Atlanta, you know it. And then kind of worked her way up through there, worked for a consulting / asset management firm, and got started doing feasibility studies and then transitioned into asset management, moved up to Boston, and then eventually kind of formed her or found her way into hotel ownership and into the role she's in now. So that what's popular is a then and now. You've seen all these people posting that on social media. So this is then, right? And this is now. So present day, this is Devon and her son, he's now 6, I want to say. I think he's at his 5th or 6th birthday. Jameer, he is obviously the center of her world outside of hotels, and this is outside of the Staybridge that she owns a part of. So that's her, a little bit more of her story. If you want to kind of check the receipts, read her receipts, you'll see here. She's been a winning coach for She Has a Deal. If you're not familiar with that program, it was founded to promote female hotel owners, and they basically have different teams that they form, and the teams compete and pitch against each other, and the winning team gets $50,000 toward an equity towards the deal. And she was a winning coach there, and then actually that team raised $700,000. So she also has raised $3 million. And look, the list goes on and on about Devon, but honestly, she's worth the hype for sure. So she's been in the industry and learned a lot. And the most recent thing that she's done is taken up, I'll say most of her time is she launched a crowdfunding platform called Vestor. So if you're not familiar with crowdfunding, and we'll get into that here in a second, it's essentially a platform, and you may have heard of it like CrowdStreet and some of those, but it's a platform that will allow you or other investors to put part of their money into a deal and then sort of source all those funds together to to purchase a hotel. So let's bust some myths, right? There's a lot of myths in the industry about just in the industry in general. So one of the myths is you have to have millions of dollars, to be a hotel owner. That's a myth, right? Not every hotel owners have millions of dollars. There are some people out there, even friends of mine, who honestly did not put a dollar into the deal, and they were part owner of it. And you say, like, how can you do that? And that's kind of discussion for a different day, but but that can be done. Next one is, obviously, if you don't have to have millions of dollars, you don't have to be a billionaire, right? Most people that own hotels are not billionaires, and a lot of them aren't millionaires, to be fair. And the last one is you have to have prior hotel ownership or hotel experience. It's not true either. I work with a lot of clients, Devon does too, that are new to the industry. There's some caveats there. If you don't have hotel ownership or hotel experience and you wanted to, manage your own hotel, most of the brands aren't going to allow that. They're going to make you hire a management company or an asset management firm or something. But you don't have to have prior experience to get into this business. So let's talk about active investors and passive investors. We're going to first walk you through what an active investor is versus passive. So an active, you may hear of somebody calling an active investor a sponsor or a GP. A GP is your general partner. In a deal, there's GPs and LPs if it's a partnership, general partner, limited partner. The sponsor is one who's putting that deal together, right? So they've gone out, they found the deal somewhere, either from a broker or off market or wherever, or maybe it was a marketed deal, through a broker. So they found the deal. They put in an offer on the deal. The offer was accepted, and then they're going out and raising the capital. That would be the sponsor, right? And the sponsor should get paid for the work that they're doing on that deal. So that is a sponsor, and that's an example of an active investor. So, let's say you're an active investor. You want to do a couple things. There's a couple of steps you're going to need to take. So one, you're going to need to set a vision, right? What's the vision? What do you have in mind? Do you you have to decide, do I want to be an active investor or do I want to be a passive investor? And we'll talk through passive investors in a little bit, but that's a big differentiator. A differentiator. A lot of people start as passive, so they might put in 5,000, 10,000, 100,000, whatever it is, into a deal as a limited partner. And then once they get to learn about the industry a little bit more, once they feel more comfortable with it, then maybe they'll shift gears into that active role. And we've actually both coached a number of people who have done that successfully. And some people don't care. Some people just want to go right into active, and that's okay too. You just want to make sure you've gotten a lot of education and you've kind of done your homework. So again, what's the vision? What do you want to do? What kind of hotel do you want to buy? When do you want to buy it? How much is it going to cost? So that's like the budget / deadline. In a lot of ways, you can think through what your budget is by kind of backing into how much money you think you can raise. So, you all know your friends, your family, your network, right? You hear people say your network is your net worth. And maybe you've got a lot of people that you think would give you 100,000 or 50,000 or whatever, and you kind of do the math and say, all right, look, I think I can raise $500,000, right? And if you can raise $500,000, then your first deal is probably going to be, I'll call it 2.5 million or below, something like that. Maybe you think you can raise $1 million, so maybe you're up to like a $5 million deal, $4 million deal, that kind of thing. And then you're going to want to set a deadline for yourself to say, okay, look, I want to get this done in 6 months. I want to get it done in a year. I want to, there's some people come to me and say, I want to put an offer on a hotel in 90 days. Get me there. Okay. So that's, that's audacious, but it's not impossible. We can get you there. So next one is determining, the pathway. So how do you want to, go about doing this? And we're going to kind of walk through some different ways to invest here. So there's a couple different ways. One, there's lines of credit, right? You can get like home equity line of credit. And again, like I said, we're not accountants, we're not lawyers, CPAs, anything like that. But we're just letting you know some different ways you can invest. You could use, maybe you've got some money that you've saved up. That's a great source. You can do self-directed IRAs and things like that, depending on what kind of retirement vehicle you have. Some allow that. So you would take, let's say you have $200,000 in your IRA, you can self-direct that into real estate. A lot of people don't know that. You could use life insurance policies depending on what the cash value is on those. You could use equity from other deals, that kind of thing. And the other one is crowdfunding. We talked a little bit about the platform that Devon has, the Vestor platform, and that's a great way. There was a lady that recently raised, I think she raised 1.2 million or so on that. So that's another way. And you could invest that way too. You could just say, you know what, I want to be an LP. I want to learn a little bit more about hotels. I want to dip my toe in the water. I want to put in 5,000 or 10,000 or whatever the minimum is into a deal. There are some crowdfunding platforms that let you put $1,000 in or $500 in, just to get used to it. All right, so let's talk about different types of capital, right? So you can raise equity, you can raise debt, and there's a hybrid scenario. Equity, right, meaning the money that you're putting into the deal. And again, I try and equate this back to like houses or things you might be more familiar with. A lot of people have bought a house. So you buy a house, you got to put money down on it, right? Whatever the down payment, usually you have to put some money down, whether it's 5, 10, 20%. That's your equity in the deal, right? Same with buying a hotel. If you're going to go buy a hotel, it depends on what kind of loan you get, but usually you're going to have to put at a minimum 20, 25%. And in some cases, depending on the loan, you might have to put 35, 40% down. I've seen some lenders require 50%. The better the deal, usually the less equity you have to put in, because the bank is a little bit more comfortable with the cash flow of the deal. Or if you get an SBA loan or something, you might not have to put as much in. Then you have to go out and usually go out and get a loan, which would be debt, but you can also raise debt, right? So people can give you money for equity, or they can give you money for debt. The interest rates are different on that. The percentage of return is different. In some cases, maybe you'll raise a little bit of both, right? Maybe the deal is, and right now you have to get really creative to do deals, right? Because interest rates are high. Again, you know the interest rates are high on mortgages. They're high on commercial real estate as well. So what a kind of a hybrid scenario might be: you raise some equity for the deal, the seller carries some papers, so they give you, a seller, a second mortgage on the deal, and then maybe you go out and find another senior deal, like a senior loan, to get the deal done. So those are the couple different types of capital there. So you want to create your investment criteria. And I want to spend some time on this because a lot of people miss this. A lot of people just jump in and say, I'm going to go buy a hotel, right? Well, and then they just go, it's almost like they just like throw a dart at a, wall or a board and say, all right, well, this is what I'm buying. I don't really know how or they just close their eyes and point and pick it. Again, you have to think about this. So here's some different ways, of things you have to go through. One, what kind of investment? Obviously, are you going to be active or passive? You've got to think through that. When do you want to do that, right? So do you want to put your money do you want to either buy a deal or raise capital in the next 6 months, 3 months, 2 years, whatever? Where? And I think a lot of people miss this one. They'll say, I'll buy a hotel in California or I'll buy one in Florida. Well, that's completely different markets, So some people say, okay, I want to buy a hotel within an hour of where I live, or within the city that I live in, or only on the East Coast, right? So you have to kind of narrow that down. You have to decide, okay, how are you going to invest in the deal, whether that's all those different ways we just went through, right? There's all different types of, whether you're using your 401k or IRA or lines of credit or whatever. Then are you going to have partners with you, right? So that's another side of it. Are you going to have partners? Are you not going to have partners? You're going to do it on your own? Did you just win the lottery and you want to go buy a hotel? Congratulations. It's a good way to spend some of that lottery money. But again, let's really refine that. So then that way, when you're kind of going down this path, you really thought through it a little bit more, instead of just, well, I want to buy a hotel. Okay, well, what kind of hotel do you want to buy? Where do you want to buy it? What kind of, are you going to be an active sponsor, or an investor? Are you going to be a passive investor? And really think through those. What kind of brand do you want to get? Um, that kind of thing. So let's talk equity capital, right? And where could that come from? And there's a bunch of different ways here. So you can get angel investors. You may have heard of this, right? Think like Shark Tank, that kind of stuff. There are retail investors, and then again, that's kind of more along the lines of some of that crowdfunding and that kind of thing. There's private equity, so you may have heard of like private equity firms and that kind of thing. It's a little more institutional, so those are usually firms that have significant amounts of money. Um, there's venture capital, and again, venture capital can enter into the hotel space. It's not as frequent. Usually that's kind of reserved more for the tech side of things. There are grants available that can help you, and there's tax abatements. Tax abatements meaning you're not, so you buy a hotel and you don't have to pay property taxes or something for a number of years. That can help you when you're raising some equity capital. Next, debt capital. So bank loans, we talked about a little bit. You can get bonds, you can get some credit lines. Maybe you've got another, piece of business or something that you have access to a credit line. Usually that's going to be a lower interest rate, a little bit easier to do. And again, with bank loans, there's a bunch of different types of bank loans. There's like conventional, there's CMBS, which is commercial mortgage-backed securities. There's debt funds. There's a million different types of bank loans. Small Business Association, that's another. SBA loan, it's another example. Hybrid, we talked about this a little bit, but so you can have some that can be convertible. It's gonna, so like one note will convert to another. CPACE is, it's not new, but it's kind of like a buzzword in the industry right now. And what CPACE is, it's usually tied into some type of it's usually tied into some type of upgrades to your property, and they're more so like green hybrid, green energy upgrades. And then what happens is they you pay your CPACE through enhanced property taxes. So it's a little different. It also transfers with the property. Mezzanine debt is another one. Mezzanine is usually pretty expensive debt, but it's used to kind of help you. I would call it a last resort, but it's used to help you kind of get the deal done for a short period of time, but it's a higher interest rate. Like mezzanine debt right now, it's not uncommon to see people paying something like 15%, maybe as high as 18% on mezzanine debt. So it's pretty expensive. Okay, so the other thing you have to think through is who's going to be on your team when you're raising capital, right? So you're going to want somebody to handle investor relations. If you're going to have investors, there's going to be questions, there's going to be concerns, there's going to be things that pop up. It's a lot of management, right? Somebody might say, when am I getting my distributions, or when am I going to get my K1, or what's going on with the property right now. So you'll want to have somebody on the team, and there are companies that you could pay to do this, that will handle investor relations. You'll want somebody to guarantee the loan. So most banks are going to say, all right, that's great, you want to buy a hotel, but you don't have enough money to guarantee the loan, right? Just again, think about it. When you're buying a house, they say, okay, what's your job? How much money do you have? How long have you been in that job? They're just trying to verify, who are you as a person? How secure are you as a person that we're going to lend our money to? So if you don't have a high enough personal net worth, and they'll ask for like a personal financial statement, you'll hear people call it a PFS, then you're going to have to go find somebody that's worth more money to sign on the loan. And if it's a recourse loan, there are recourse and non-recourse. Recourse meaning if you default on your loan, they can come after you personally for whatever's owed on that. Non-recourse means they can't do that. Recourse loans have lower interest rates typically because, again, the bank has some surety that they can go after you for money to get, to make up the difference of what they're owed. The non-recourse loans have higher interest rates because they don't have that option, right? You'll need a good mortgage broker. So you need somebody to go out there and find you the best interest rates with all their different contacts in the industry. And it's a good idea to have a securities lawyer as well, because they can make sure that all the documents that you're putting out there are legal and are all your T's are crossed and I's are dotted, so to speak. So that's a good example of some people you're going to want to have on your team. Again, what you signed up for is how are we raising capital, right? And there's a couple different ways. One, people, you hear people call it the country club raise or something like that, but it's friends and family, right? So maybe by now you've talked to some friends or family and say, hey, look, at some point I'm going to do my own deal. I think I'm going to buy a hotel. And they'd say, oh yeah, sure, we'll give you 50,000 or whatever the number is. So that's certainly an option, and most people get started that way. And there are some friends and family that have grown from one hotel to 50 hotels or 100 hotels, and that just keeps going and going and going. And then again, if you think about the team that you're creating, or maybe you partner with a couple people, and we've done that with the groups we've created. These people sort of partner together, and now all of a sudden their network turns into, it kind of 2, 3, 4, 5x's because they've got more people on their team, and they know people, and they know people, and they know people, and all of a sudden, you've taken it from, the 500,000 you thought you could raise to now 2 million, and now you've got a bigger deal. You could create a fund. So again, the fund might be used for you to do more than one deal. So maybe you say, you know what, I'm going to call it the, whatever it is, the Blue Hotel Fund. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up. I'm not good at that, obviously. And with the Blue Hotel Fund, we're going to raise $10 million. And we're going to go out and buy 3 hotels or 5 hotels or something like that. That would be a fund that you create that the people would put money to, and then they own a portion of, all of those hotels. You've heard people call them REITs. There's a difference between a REIT and a fund. A REIT is a real estate investment trust. I certainly wouldn't suggest anybody starting out that way, but that is one way. It's kind of like a fund. And another thing you can do is crowdfunding. We talked about that a little bit before, but again, that's just a bunch of people putting their money together, and at different levels. There could be different minimums to invest. There's some crowdfunding. There's some deals where you're going to only want accredited investors, and then some are non-accredited investors. If you're not familiar with what an accredited investor is, it means you've at least got a annual income of $200,000 or more, and or you've got a personal net worth of over $1 million, excluding the value of your personal residence. So that's the definition of an accredited investor. Non-accredited just means you don't qualify for either one of those. Oh yeah, here we go. So again, crowdfunding, accredited investor versus non-investor is usually for accredited investors. CrowdStreet doesn't have to be that way. Again, with Vestor, the cool thing too is not just hotels, that you could find retail deals on there. You can find multifamily deals, all kinds of industrial, senior living, all of that. So it's not just hotels. And feel free to take a look at all those or some other competitors out there. And then some people don't just use so for crowdfunding, you can say, okay, I want to go raise $1 million on crowdfunding, but then I'm also going to talk to friends and family, and then I'm going to kind of put everything together, and I'm going to do a deal that way. Keeping in mind, whatever platform you use, you're going to have to pay them something. So if you use CrowdStreet, maybe you pay them 5% of the money that you raise, right? So if you raise $1 million, you got to pay them $50,000 for the access of their platform and the use of their platform. Okay, so here's some steps, right? You've got to decide what's your funding needs. We talked about that, right? How much can you raise? And that kind of backs you into what kind of deal can you do. Next is developing your business plan, right? And that's, kind of simple, but if you're new to the hotel industry, it can seem a little daunting. You've got to think through who could be a potential investor. We talked about that, or who are some lenders, and that mortgage broker could help you with that. You'll want to create a pitch deck that you can send, but also one that you can speak to, right? And we've helped a bunch of people do that in the past. But as you think through that investment criteria, that's going to tie into the pitch, right? Because let's just say, for instance, you go to your friend, your rich uncle or your rich aunt, and you said, "Hey, uh, I want $500,000 to invest in a hotel." And they said, "Well, okay, I love you so much. Here's the 500,000." Maybe that's how it goes. Or maybe they say, "Oh, okay, that's cool. Tell me how you're going to use it. What are you going to buy? Where are you going to buy? What's the deal look like? What kind of return am I going to get?" And you go, well, I don't know. Well, that's not good, right? You want to have it really well thought out. So you might say, "Hey, listen, um, Aunt Sally, what I want, I'd like $500,000 of your money." And think about like Shark Tank, right? They go up there and they say, this is what I'm pitching. This is my business. This is how much money we think it's going to make. This is how much money I'm asking. This is what percentage of the deal you'd get. This is the percentage return you get. And again, it sounds daunting, but you want to be able to intelligently communicate that to an investor or a lender, or somebody else who wants to join your team, right? Um, you have to negotiate terms. And again, this is more from an active perspective. So put your active deal sponsor hat on here. You're going to negotiate some terms, right? So if you don't have a lot of money that you're bringing to the deal, but you're the sponsor, so you've got the deal in hand, you should be able to get something for that, right? Meaning you should get equity in the deal because you're doing all the work, you're bringing the deal to the table. Maybe you're not signing on the debt as we talked about, right? But you should be able to then negotiate that and say, all right, look, I think I'm gonna get um I should get 10% of the deal, and these are the reasons why. And as an investor, you're going to get, maybe an 8% return, and then you can kind of create waterfall structure based off of that as well. And then obviously you want to close the deal, bring the money in, close the deal, and then operating the hotel. It's a whole separate discussion for a whole different day. So we'll keep on moving here. A couple different tips, right? You want to have strong relationships. You've always got to be transparent and honest. It's obviously the best way to be. Have some persistence and be patient. It's not, this stuff's not going to come overnight, but if it's something that you really want to do, I'd just say, continue to work on it, refine the strategy, practice your pitch. Again, these are things that we can help you out with, or other people who have invested in hotels or been sponsors can help you out with as well. Make the list of investors and then listen to them, right? So maybe they say, you have to think about it, because maybe that rich aunt or uncle or whoever it is, doesn't like, I don't know, they don't like a certain state for a certain reason. And it could be the weather, it could be anything. And all of a sudden, you find a deal in that state that they don't like. You got to listen to them, right? If they're going to be a main source of equity, you can't go do a deal in that state because they don't like it. They don't like it because who knows? They got a flat tire one day there. I don't know what the reason could be. It could be a valid reason, could not be a valid reason. So you might want to, move on from that. Some of your investors might say, you know what, I'm willing to give you, $50,000, but I can only give it to you in 6 months, or I can only give it to you for a year or whatever, right? So you've got to, think through these things and kind of put it down. I'm a big Excel user, so put it on Excel, right? Have the people, the name, how much they could give to you, when will you get it, that kind of thing. So let's think about some common mistakes. And, some of these we've talked through a little bit. One, you may not have a clear business plan. We talked about that, right? You don't want to, you don't want to go in there and stumble and stutter all over yourself and say, well, I'll get back to you. They're not going to give you money. These people are giving you likely their hard-earned money. I don't know how they got it. Hopefully they got it in a legal way, but they're giving you their hard-earned money, right? So you need to, be respectful of that and treat it as if it were your own money. You don't want to ignore their concerns or the lender's concerns. So the lender might say, hey, that's great. I think you have a good business plan, but I'm concerned that, I'm concerned about the deal, or I'm concerned that you don't have enough experience or whatever. So you've got to kind of think through that and have an answer for some potential, pitfalls. Or maybe the lender says, this hotel is not going to do well, hasn't done well in the past. I don't really feel comfortable lending you the money. So you want to prepare for the due diligence. That's things that we can walk you through. But again, if you get the deal under contract, there's a lot of different due diligence you're going to have to do. You want to have the proper legal paperwork. And we talked about having a securities attorney or a real estate attorney as well, or both. And then you don't want to overestimate the valuation. We see that a lot. People pay too much for their deals. You don't want to do that. So here's some different questions to ask, right? What are the fees? What's the timeline? Who's going to be responsible for the investor? So the fees are, that may be, if you're a sponsor, how are you going to get paid on the deal, right? And we talked about that. Are you going to take an asset management fee? Are you going to take an acquisition fee, a disposition fee, a regular management fee? Are you going to pay a fee for somebody who's guaranteeing the debt? Again, what's the timeline, and who's going to be responsible for the investor? That's a big thing to sort out. We talked a little bit about Vestor, right? You can scan that QR code. It's Vestor with 2Rs.com. Both accredited and not accredited can invest, right? So I think I got that wrong before, but either way. And like I said, it's commercial real estate. It's not just hotels. So it's more than just hotels. So check it out. It's a great site. And there's a couple deals on there now, I think, too. How do you find lenders? You could work with a mortgage broker. You could talk to some local banks. Maybe you have a relationship there. Maybe a broker, another like a hotel broker can connect you. Keeping in mind, if you use a mortgage broker, they're going to charge you something. It's going to be usually 1% of the loan or 0.75% of the loan, something like that. So keep in mind it costs you some money if you use a broker, but they should be able to find you better rates and better terms than if you were going on your own. So here's a couple of different ways you can reach out to Devon. She's listed here. I'm gonna ping her and see if she's available so she can jump back in and run you guys through a few more things. Yeah, so you can find her on Instagram, LinkedIn. Here's the website. There's a private Facebook group as well. You can find me. My asset management company is B Hospitality Advisors, and my consulting firm is the same. It's the same company. Again, we can help you out. We can do one-on-one calls with you. There's, all kinds of different ways we can help you. Let me check the chat and see who's here. Yeah, Darlene, thanks for joining. Devon's gonna jump back on here and run you guys through a couple other things, see where she's at. Let me know if you guys have other questions. I know I kind of went through it fast. It's a lot of information to digest, but but it should be helpful. And like I said, we get on here once a month and run you guys through all kinds of different things related to hotel ownership, whether that's raising money or analyzing deals or finding brokers, how to find deals. There's all kinds of different topics we discuss. We have guest speakers on usually pretty frequently. So there may be like a guest speaker from a hotel management company. There may be guest speakers from brands. So we're pretty well connected with a bunch of different brands, whether that's Hilton or Marriott or IHG or Hyatt or Choice or Wyndham. So we'll bring those people on from the different brands, and they can speak to, they let you know, hey, what does it look like to be a new hotel owner? What brands within their portfolio do they like right now? What are kind of the hot brands? where they also have a lot of different programs. So that's one thing. I know I'm just chatting with you guys, but feel free to drop in some questions. So the brands right now have created a lot of different programs related to kind of DEI and minority investing. So it's expensive to get into a hotel, to whether you're especially a franchise property, but they have programs that will help you raise money. They have programs that will reduce the cost of ownership for you. In some cases, the brands will put money into the deals with you, or they'll give you key money or fee relief. So there's a lot of different programs out there, but a lot of people really don't know that, honestly, especially if you're new to the industry. I was talking to a guy the other day. He's like, you know what, his story was, he was buying a hotel, but he wanted to, as soon as he closed on it, he wanted to get rid of the flag, and he wanted to make it a multifamily property because he felt like it was a bad hotel, but there was a lot of need for multifamily, so like apartments in that area. So I said, okay. He's like, well, what do I do with that? And I said, well, you're going to have to pay some liquidated damages. So that means you're going to have to pay the brand to get out of that contract, right? But what he didn't know was, you could go to that same brand and say, hey, look, I'm sorry that I'm not able to do this, this deal. I know I have to terminate the contract. I know that's going to cost me some money. However, I'm going to buy this hotel, or I'm in the process of looking at this hotel, or a friend is doing this property or whatever, and we're happy to convert it from XYZ brand to your brand. And now all of a sudden you've got some leverage there. You've got some bargaining power, right? To where you can go back to them and say, and they might say, you know what, look, it was going to cost you $250,000 to get out of this contract. We see that you're trying to help us out and grow the business. Why don't we just cut that in half or something? So, and so he didn't know that. We were just having a coaching call, right? So, in that one call, that one, 2-minute statement, I probably saved him, I don't know the numbers to be sure, but I'm going to guess 6 figures, right? So what other questions are out there? Are you guys new? Who's new to the space? Who knows nothing about it? Shell's new. Who's been in it before? Has anybody been a passive investor? Carolyn's new. New. Okay, Sandra's new. Trudy, you've invested before? Tamika, Adrian. Yeah, I know Adrian's done some. There's Davon. We're just talking about who's active and who's passive. So
Okay.
I'll make you the
Push
host.
in my face. Okay. Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. We had a double team. I have 2 places at once.
All good.
Story of my life. So did y'all learn a lot tonight? I'm sure y'all did. Tommy's better at explaining stuff than I am. Let's see. Oh, shucks. We got yes. Yes. So, okay. So, since I just jumped in, how many people? I know Trudy passive. I already know. So, how many people are active and how many people are passive?
Yeah. So if you were to do a deal today, who would want it? Would you start as active or would you start as passive?
Michelle said, I'm neither. Wait a minute. Did you want to?
Okay. There you go. There you go.
Did you want to? Oh, you want to start as passive. Got it. So, does anyone need help raising capital? Passive on your way to active. Yeah. Well, you kind of semi-active, Adrian. Kind of like you need to say active actually, because you done kind of really started. So capital is the only thing that's hold. Who else? What about anybody else? And capital holding them back.
It's like the daunting thing, right? I feel a lot of people feel that way, but before you know it, your network is bigger than you know, right?
Capital is holding me back. Okay, but this after this webinar today, at this webinar tonight. Tommy, I'm sure he explained, did it make it more attainable, not as hard? Yeah, that's how it was for me when I started off. I was like, oh,
Especially you can team up too. You know what I mean? People don't think through that, but if you team up with 3 or 4 people, all of a sudden your network went like this.
yeah, I didn't know that starting off. Like, I wish I would have known this. I got a property in Philly, and I was just thinking I was gonna have to use all this cash to fix it up. But I didn't know anything about leverage and credit, and this, the house was paid off. So I didn't know anything about lines of credit and home equity, HELOC loans. I didn't know anything about that. It's not so much capital. Oh, wait a minute, Adrian, come through. Wait a minute. Adrian said it's not so much capital now. I know how it works. It's finding the deal. See, I told you you're not a passive anymore. You active. I told you that. Come on through. Adrian, look at that. Look at that student testimonial right there. That's what I'm talking about. She said capital. I know how to get that.
Davon had some coffee. He's all hyped up.
Tommy, I'm always hyped.
You
like know this. Tommy, you know this. I'm always hyped. Always. You know that. Congrats. Okay. So let's see. Oh, wait. Where'd the screen go? You gotta share your screen, Tommy. We got something for you.
Yeah, you can just make me the host again. I'll share it.
Yeah. You do it. It'll be too much for me to try to share it. I'm on my tablet. I like this thing. It's cool. It'll be following me. So, but it's harder to share the screen.
I see you like that tablet.
Girl, I love my little tablet.
When I first saw you on it, I said, okay, now it's time for me to get one.
Ain't it cool? I gotta keep it from Jameer because he liked the tab. He liked my tablet better than his tablet. So I like my little tablet. It make me look all clear and stuff. I'm like, oh shucks, look at this. Okay, I'm sorry, guys. Acting like my dad being a gadget nerd. But anyway, so for the folks that needed help with raising capital, so we have a commercial real estate. So we have a special going on where we have a commercial real estate game plan, which is a monthly webinar. Well, it's a monthly group coaching call. And we also have accountability. We're going to have accountability sessions as well to make sure that we hold you all accountable, because no, we just don't want you to invest in yourself and you don't do it. Like I just don't want you to be the folks that just be buying courses and then no, we want you to actually do the work. We want to, make because we want you to get your hotel, whatever real estate project, because some of the stuff we teaching you, it actually can be used for other real estate. So we're going to do a raising capital accelerator. And in this accelerator, we're going to be for 4 weeks. It is very intense. All we're going to do is just talk about raising capital. So we're going to go over the different legal documents. We're going to go over a pitch deck, how to create a pitch deck. We're going to go over the pitch practice. We're going to walk through how you can use Chat GPT. Adrian, I already know. I didn't put her on it. And she's like, what? Oh my goodness. Is Chat GPT has done changed the whole bunch of folks' life. But if you really don't know how to use it, you can't take advantage of it, right? And so we're going to walk through, because Chat GPT has definitely helped me. And how many people are introverts? I'm an introvert. Y'all probably don't believe me, but I really am. I am really an introvert. I think Tommy's starting to know that, see that more and more. Starting to see that more and more. Okay. Starting to see it more and more. So as far as I will teach you how to pitch, you're going to have to pitch. You're going to have to pitch. You're going to have to pitch to raise capital. You're going to have to pitch to talk to the lender. If you decide to do a hotel, you are going, no, it's okay. Don't say, oh no, because if I can do it, you can do it. It is okay. You will be fine. Trust me. You will be fine. I promise you. I used to hate doing lives. One time I got kicked off a podcast because they was like, you just a mess. I wish you would have saved it. It was horrible. But the more I practice, the more I practiced, I was going on live and it was like one person on it. I think one time it was zero, and I think I was the one, right? But it doesn't matter because the more and more you practice, right? So that's what we're going to go. And another thing is, if you do decide to buy a hotel, you're going to have to pitch, you know, to the brands. Sometimes if you talk to the seller, you may have to pitch to the seller. So you are going to constantly be pitching, right? Because nobody really can see your vision, and sometimes you have to get them to understand, and that's literally what pitching is. How many people watch Shark Tank? How many people? Nobody watch Shark Tank. Guess what they doing? Pitch, pitch, pitch. And guess what they're doing? They were pitching ideas, and the sharks either liked it or didn't like it. All right. And so you have to be able to articulate what you're trying to do, especially trying to raise some capital. So this is what we're going to talk about in the accelerator. Plus, you are going to get access to our game plan. All right. So like I said, we meet once a month with group coaching calls. Sometimes we have special guests. And then we have a private Facebook group, and we're going to start definitely holding accountability sessions. Oh, look, Tommy, I'm moving my screen. I was like, it's not moving. Can you go to the next slide? I'm like, sweet. Okay. So this is your price to get both 5 months at a commercial game plan and then a raising capital accelerator. 940. Actually, the value of it alone is probably like close to 50,000 because we save you so much in legal documents. Of course, you definitely want to get a lawyer and the CPA and everything to draft it. But the reason why, and what I've learned is a lot of times with they probably get mad at me for saying it, but a lot of times with legal, and if you work with lawyers, pretty much the same thing over and over again, and they just charge you. So I've learned you can save time with them by doing a lot of the work up front, right? And so that saves you a lot of money, because when you're raising capital, you want to go through a securities lawyer, and then because you want to see how you want to structure it, right? And so we talk about that as well. How do you want to structure it, right? And so we prepare you for that, and it's just raising capital. We're not going to talk about hotel ownership. If you want to learn about that, that's for the monthly coaching calls. But we're just going to strictly just talk about raising capital. We're going to talk about, we're going to bring in a lending expert to help you understand, how to get ready for financing. We actually had a part of that, the commercial game plan webinar series early this month, where we had somebody come in and talk about how to get ready for financing, basically how to get your credit, both business and personal credit together. So those are some of the things that we're going to talk about. Mainly this accelerator. We're going to talk about getting you ready so that way you can get your money back. So that way you can raise capital for different deals, right? So definitely it's an investment in yourself. I don't know if Tommy touched on it, but the folks that I've coached, they've raised millions of dollars. They came first place, and they're winning competitions. I didn't realize this until I went to Tech Week, but I launched a tech platform without venture capital funding. That's like unheard of. Typically what people do when they're in the tech space, they go get venture capital. I didn't have to do that, right? So I understand how to raise capital. I understand how to do it differently. And so for the folks who are an introvert, I am an introvert or an ambivert. When I have to be on stage, I be on stage. How about that? But typically I can be in the back of the room and I will be just fine if no one knows who I am. I'll be okay. But so I understand for the folks who are introvert, but guess what? If you need money, you won't be able to be an introvert, right? Adrian came a long way. She was the same way.
Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. Amen. Praise Jesus. Amen.
And we've been working on her, and she's doing so much better. She was featured on a podcast. I was like, oh my goodness. Like, I mean, just proud of her. But so next thing you know, when her deal comes up, she's going to be ready to pitch and raise capital, because nobody's going to be able to pitch your deal like you. Even if you pay somebody to pitch your deal, nobody's going to be able to pitch your deal like you, because people, they're not investing in a project, they're investing in you. And those are the things that we talk about. So if you're interested, definitely use that QR code. I can put the link in a chat. If you need it, let me know. If you need the chat, I mean, if you need the link, I can put it in there. Y'all need it? Let me put it in there a few times. Oh, you need the link a few times? Okay, wait a minute, girl. Let me get that. Okay, let me get the link. Oh, it didn't come. Okay, but any other questions while I get the link for you all? What? No questions? Okay. Well, I'm gonna put this in the chat. One, I'm gonna give a shout out to Tommy because he held it down. I appreciate you. I appreciate you, Tommy. I know he did a good job. I might have a property. Okay, that would be my next step. Okay. Yeah, and this is not just for hotels. This is for any type of thing when it comes to raising capital. So it does don't feel like, oh, well, I don't want to buy a hotel yet. You know, sometimes you may want to start off with a rental property first and then get a hotel, or maybe started with a rental property and then get a multifamily and then get a hotel. So definitely different levels and steps to it. But either way, you're still gonna need funding. So I would say, what would be my next step? No, what would be your next step? I may hit a problem. Oh, your next step is you might have a property. So do you need funding for the property? And then also, folks may have issues with their credit, and I understand. You know, I get it. So we definitely have, programs that I'll refer to you. I know it's a lot of folks out here, that be scamming, and I'm not about that life. So I definitely get the information for you all, for the folks. Well, put in an email, for the folks that may want to work on a credit, and you should, because it'll be easier for you to get financing if your credit is good. So definitely put that in there. And so I wanted to see if it would be a good property. So the next step, if you want to see if it'll be a good property, for one, you'll have to do an analysis. Is it a hotel? So it is a hotel. Okay. So you're not a part of our membership program, are you, Karen? I don't think you are. I don't remember seeing. Well, the next step will be one. You are? Okay. Well, on our next session, or put it in a private Facebook group, put the deal in there, and then we can look at it to see if it's a good deal and we do a quick analysis. But if you have the course, there is an Excel file. There's a model that you can use to do the analysis to see if it makes sense or not. Have you used it yet? Ah, so you got to start there. Yeah, you got to start there. Yeah, so go to the and in the session, in the course, it should be a pre-recorded session. I think it's one of us, either me or Tommy, we walk you through how to analyze the deal. So that would be your next step to see if the deal makes sense or not. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, and then we outline in how the course is designed. We've outlined it where you can take where it's in the order of the steps. So the ownership thesis, finding the hotel, and then analyzing the hotel will be the next step. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Awesome, awesome. Well, if there's not any more questions, like I said, I put the, uh, the class for you to sign up. It starts in July. For the folks who want to who want to learn more about raising capital. If you don't want to learn more about raising capital and you're like, I'm not there yet, let me or Tommy know, and we have other resources for you to help you get. You know, me and Tommy combined, we saved, I don't know, I think I can say what we saved you with 2.1 million, Adrian. bump to 23,000. We saved you 2.1 million.
It would have felt like 2.3 million to me.
Yeah, so Adrian's one of our students. She took the class, took the one-on-one sessions, and so we worked with her. She got some not the best information about a deal, and Tommy took a look at it and was like, whoa, no, and I was like, whoa, no. And so she was able to get her earnest money back, and it just wasn't the right deal for her. So I'm glad that it worked out. So
some of the best deals you do are the deals you don't do. Those are
right,
the best
because she learned
pass.
a lot. Oh yeah, Adrian learned a lot. That's why I said you are no longer passive.
Carolyn was asking about, we've got the weekly ones too that we're starting up, so we can get
so which yeah, we have a weekly, I can send you information about our weekly class. It's an 8-week program where we meet once a week, and then we literally go through all the steps. We touch on a little bit about raising capital, but not too much. It's mostly on the hotel acquisition side. So like that deal that you were talking about, you'll bring it to your class. It's paid. So it's not one of the free sessions. So, that deal that you were talking about, you bring it in, and then we'll go through, we'll give you feedback, we'll literally go through the deal with you. If you're, we'll walk with you to see if you need to submit it, the deal. We'll help you to how to structure it, right? And then you can submit it. If it's accepted, then we'll help you with the due diligence process. So yes, I could send you the information, Carolyn. Yeah. So the 8-week course, for those who are listening, this is for someone who's ready to buy in like within a year. It's more intense. It's more intense. So it's a little bit more accelerated because it's 8 weeks, but we do so much within those 8 weeks. So by the 8 weeks, you should be submitting an offer. Yeah, so I'll send that information out. But what is the property up for sale now? What property that's up for sale?
Well, there may be other deals out there too. You can look at it. I mean, you may want to connect on a one-on-one too, just to run through
it. We do one-on-one. Yeah. Yeah, but the first thing is you want to how much is the deal? $5 million. Oh, so you need about at least 1 million. Yeah. Yeah, we'll see the information. We could do a one-on-one and walk you through it. Because even if you see a deal, it may not be the deal for you after we analyze it, because it's, sometimes you have to go through a lot of deals to find the right one. Sometimes people, they get so excited, and then when we go through the numbers, we're like, run. So yeah. So we'll see the information. Yeah, it's a whole bunch of deals out there, but we want to make sure that it's the right one for you, because we want your first one probably won't be the sexiest one, but we want you to learn, and we want you to at least be somewhat profitable so you can move to your next one. That's when you really see the money really coming in about your second and third hotel. All right. Well, thank you, Carolyn. We'll send you that information. We appreciate you all so much. And thank you for tuning in. Shout out to Tommy for holding down the fort. And we will talk soon. You all have a good night.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
Thank you. Take care.